I'm Annie Coburn with the Susie Guides. We're in New York City working on a new walking guide to the Big Apple. With us today is Eric Ferrara, who owns and operates New York City's Lower East Village walking tours. Eric, tell us a little bit about your background as it relates to the Lower East Side.
I've been here, I'm a fourth generation native Lower East Sider, native New Yorker. My family on both sides came in the 1800s, the late 1800s, sometime in the 1870s and 80s.
Why visit the Lower East Side?
Truly one of the most historic neighborhoods in the entire country. It's really taken for granted a lot, and a lot of people think of grandmothers and old bagels and shopping and all of that. But this is the genesis, this is the template of modern day working class multi-ethnic America. It all started here in the 1800s with the Great Melting Pot. This is where they coined the term the melting pot. And for the first time ever in the history of the world, dozens of cultures living together under one roof. Really forging a way of life that became what we know as America today.
What is currently happening here?
Gentrification capital of the world. This is, we went from very low rents, very inexpensive, also a very sort of hazardous place to be. It had a really bad reputation in the last 200 years. The Lower East Side, we're a lot different now. It was mostly young professionals, students, tourists, actors, supermodels, and all sorts of things. It literally is probably the hottest real estate commercial and residential ticket in New York City.
What are the must-see places?
Check out the City Hall area. There's some beautiful old architecture and the old buildings down here, which is also just south of the 5 Points, made famous by gangs of New York. But the 5 Points truly is much more historic than the movie led on. That was the birthplace of the melting pot. The actual 5 Points means 5 points. There were 5 streets that came together, and that was the first time in America, in the world history, that at least 4 cultures at first got together and lived together under one roof. And then by the late 1800s, it sort of spread further north towards 14th Street, where we are.
What is the Lower East Side?
The Lower East Side is technically, officially 14th Street all the way down to the Two Bridges neighborhood, which is the South Street Seaport. That's the official Lower East Side. Right now, we're technically also in the East Village, which has sort of become separated. East Village is now known as 14th Street to Houston Street, and Lower East Side, Houston Street below. But technically, for 200 years, this is all Lower East Side.
Why so many great artists?
You have to realize these were the largest slums in America. These were the most densely populated slums in America. Over 2.5 million people lived in 40,000 tenements at one time. And out of this poverty and severe corruption spawned dozens, hundreds of cultural, political, entertainment, all sorts of movements around the world. Everything from labor unions, women's rights movements, to tap dancing, to the Beat Generation, to organized crime, to the knish and the bagel and the egg cream, all these ethnic, cultural, identified type of foods that we have here that are now New York culinary icons. There's just so many layers of history. Basically every 30 to 50 years the Lower East Side has changed in the last 200 years, and there's so many different types of personalities and characters and influences that have come throughout this time.
Give us some history of this area.
Going back to the original settlers of the Lower East Side would be Peter Stuyvesant and the Dutch, of course. Peter Stuyvesant owned most of this Lower East Side. James Delancey owned a lot of the property below Delancey Street. So those are the two main property owners at the time. After that, of course, everybody. Emma Goldman. We had Lucky Luciano to just everybody. James Cagney, Meyer Lansky. Who else? George Gershwin. To the early 1830s, we had everybody from James Fenimore Cooper, writers, Walt Whitman, Herman Melville, all the way back to, going up to the turn of the century where we had Irving Caesar, and again, George Gershwin and all the greats that were writing music out of the area at the time. And then later on, we had the jazz musicians, the Beat Generation, and this is the birthplace of bebop. And Charlie Parker. We have the Charlie Parker Museum now on 9th Street in Avenue B. He has a residency in the East Village. All the way up to punk rock. Punk rock came out of CBGB in 1974. So we're talking about 150 years of influence, not just music, but all sorts of arts.
Tell us about East Village tour.
Of all of the Lower East Side, we do a 5 Points tour every Sunday as of now. The schedule's always changed, so it's best you can check eastvillagetours.com or lowereastsidetours.org. My phone number is 917-215-2575. You can always get in touch with us. We do tours 7 days a week and private tours. We do different types, different areas of the Lower East Side, like Astor Place, Alphabet City, 5 Points, but we also do different subjects. We have subjects just on gangsters and all the great gangsters that came out of the area, like Al Capone and Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky and all the greats. And we do food tasting tours and all sorts of different types of tours. We basically can cater it to whatever you want. All of our guides are all native New Yorkers and veteran, if not native Lower East Siders. We're truly the most authentic walking tour in New York City.
Thank you, Eric, for this interview, and a special thanks to Nick at John's Italian Restaurant for hosting this interview.